G'day everyone and welcome to this week's edition of the Melbourne Punters Show, where the spring is here, so as usual...
Table's fucking walking.
Racetrack Ralphie,
Duppy,
Darren Potter, returning guest, great friend of the show Mickey Harrick, and a first time guest, one of the younger on-course bookmakers here in Victoria, James Early.
Thanks, Duppy. Good to be here.
Firstly, Contra.
Yes.
I've got Contra. This is how well the show's going. We've got Contra to the point of this is the Titus and Sergio Variety Hour t-shirt. If you haven't heard the fantastic podcast, it's Titus O'Reilly and my old mate Sergio Paradise from Radio Days. They've now got the t-shirts out, so I said to the shirts, can I get one in Richmond? He said, I'll drop one off for the boys. Can't make this up, I'll drop them off for the boys. So he walked in, he said, I've got one large, two smalls, and so this is the challenge for our next guest next week. No, sorry.
Oh, for boogers.
Extra small. So to the first jockey who ever wants to burn the Melbourne Punters, we've got payment for you. So that's only one bit of contra my life. The other bit is my gym membership.
He obviously doesn't watch the show, then. He would have come with a few more X's on his list.
My gym membership's also contra for transparency. Ask me where I go.
Where do you go for your gym membership?
Part of the contra deal is that they give it to me for nothing on the condition I don't tell anyone that this is what you can look like if I go. Really?
Well, I actually know where you do go to, Ralphie. So definitely, if you head to the iTunes store and search for Titus and Paradise, I think it's Titus and Sergio. But you'll find the podcast there and subscribe to it. It's great fun. It's and they're like Ralphie. They're long suffering Melbourne supporters.
That's true.
So we've got a couple of bookies here with us today, but we'll get on to you, James. James, how did you get into the game initially?
Yeah, so growing up, my dad was a single parent working for Eric Timms originally and Angus Robertson. So mainly working Saturdays. So most of the Saturdays as a young kid didn't have much of a choice. So I was venturing down onto the track. So pretty much as soon as I turned 18, I had a gig with Joe Dorrington at Flemington for the Melbourne Cup Carnival, and from there worked regularly for Joe and John Dorrington, started learning a few things and getting a few gigs with a few other bookmakers to then meet Wayne Elliott and go into partnership with Wayne Elliott, and also start working for James Philgate doing the setups and pack-ups, and just learned a lot of stuff, taught a lot to myself, met a few connections and learned a lot of things.
Where did you grow up and who were your mentors? Because last week Dan Kelly was on, he was fantastic, spoke about every single great person he met at Caulfield on the way through taught him. Guess where I met Dan? Caulfield.
Yeah,
he never mentioned
it. I did. It's funny you mentioned that, Ralph, because I did mention that to Dan after the show and he goes, oh shit, yeah, Ralph.
Sonny Ralphie said.
It was just a given. Ralph who? Ralph who? Oh.
That's it.
Yeah, so you meet sort of everyone on a racetrack, where there's a lot of it in the city, and then you really get to meet them. Working for Philgate was my first real sort of taste of regular country meetings.
What years were we sort of talking when you started?
So I started working in 2008, which was just on a Saturday.
Yep.
Then a couple of years later, I went up to James Philgate trying to get a job on a Friday night with a bookmaker at Moonee Valley.
Yep.
And he told me he was looking for staff. So all of a sudden I started, a week later I was working with James Philgate. No application, no resume, no nothing. I was just bang straight in, thrown the deep end. Then all of a sudden I was going to these country meetings, got some works with, I worked carnivals with Robbie Waterhouse down in Warrnambool, working for Sable, worked a lot with Mickey, and just learnt like...
So in this decade though that you've started, you probably have gone through probably the most tumultuous era in bookmaking history, isn't it? With the way customers have left the track, corporates have taken over. And
even in just looking little changes like at Caulfield, when the betting ring of the old compared to the betting ring of the new, working at Dorrington where the rail was on the interstate was huge. So
be honest, how much of it is the decline in bookmakers, do you think, on reflection, and we all reflect on everything we do, everyone does, has been, let's say, bookies being the Uber of the world, or the taxis compared to the Uber, and just not changing with the times, and how much of it were it's been something that's been out of your hands collectively?
A lot of it is there's a new there's a new being the corporates. There's a new entering the market.
Yep.
Then we've got a bookies board, which a lot will say that they want to be there looking after themselves. And there's a few of them on there that I almost say don't know what a racetrack looks like. And I just think that there's a new entering. Unlike the taxis, we're actually trying to fight it. We're sort of laying down and trying to protect our positions, and sort of they're trying to last out their 5-10 years they've got left, and not looking to grow the future.
You've just described racing in a nutshell in every area.
Yeah.
You've got people running the sport who don't understand wagering, or people who are already in the sport just trying to protect their positions. Because there's nothing wrong with self-interest. But you need to, I think people need to understand that self-interest is good for
Is
the
the
whole.
great DK?
There's DK. We're filming this, DK. I just mentioned how you mentioned every single good bloke you ever mentioned at Caulfield, and we met at Caulfield.
That's it,
There's
yeah,
DK.
thank you, I've been told I left a few. Hello, Mickey. Hello, James. Hello, mate, what's doing?
Not so much.
Very good.
Right. It's like all happening here.
It is all happening.
Shooting all the rebel inside for lunch.
For those who don't know, not only are we filming the Punters show here, but it's the great Splinter Roberts' birthday here today. So happy birthday, Splinter. He is a friend of the show.
You should ask why.
He's just a friend.
No, Splinter. Thank you.
Yeah.
Why the nickname?
I
Just don't go there.
no, it's play on. So not only have we got James from a bookmaking point of view, but we've got friend of the show, Mickey. And Mickey, you were a bit crook last week, but you've bounced back.
Yeah, all good, yeah.
And judging from the discussions you and I have had, you have similar feelings to James about how hard it is to get anything to change bookmaking wise.
Well, it's a little bit difficult, but look, at the end of the day, there's still milk. I look at it this way: that there's still milk bars out there. They're making money. They're not making as much money as they used to.
That's
but
true.
they're still making money. So there's always going to be. We're going to be around. So it's not like we're just going to disappear. Yes, the amount of people that turn up to the track won't. It's not going to go up. And I think a couple of weeks ago when I watched you, you were talking to Richie Irvine and Dan.
Good looking
And-
man, Richie.
Yeah.
Thank fuck I missed that show.
Hello, Richie. Another friend of the show. Very tall, very good-looking young man.
And you asked them, how are you going to get back to the track? And they said, we won't. Because, like a lot of the blokes I know that say bet on greyhounds, for example, have got their own offices with their own TVs, and it just creatures of habit people are.
Well, you used the milk bar analogy. What about this for an analogy in that, all retail started going online with the Amazons of the world and everything else. But then Smiggle came along and they put on a really good product that people want to be involved in.
Yep.
Do you think the on-course bookmakers have lacked this collective smarts to say, let's make ourselves a bit relevant against the smart marketings of the corporate world? Never mind the fact that they've got different situations where they can bar with punters and all that. To me, there's been no real smart pushback from the on-course bookmakers collectively.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. Well, what happens with bookmakers?
On Twitter, Jumpy.
No. I'm just getting ready for all the Twitter questions we've got. There's a heap of them this week.
What happens with bookies is that because they are all individual entities, a lot of them don't work together. Like
Yes.
they're not.
And it's been to their detriment individually.
Yes, and you wouldn't believe it. Like sometimes I don't do it, by the way, but bookies eat bookies.
Yeah.
Like, you put up the wrong odds. I'll walk up and I'll say, Ralphie, have you got the right odds about number 5?
Yeah.
Other bookies will just jump at you straight away. No problem,
The floodgates
Just a
open.
max.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just
a dog-eat-dog world.
So it's not like my thing is the most racist people are minorities, the most sexist people are women, and the most homophobic people are gay people.
I agree with that.
So the worst people to bookmakers are bookmakers as well.
Yeah, sometimes they'll kill each other just to get the prize. And you think, hang on a second, we're supposed to be all working together here.
Yeah.
But we did a promotion a couple of years ago where we had to wear hats.
Yeah.
And basically, every time someone bet with us, we were putting half back.
Yeah.
Like giving, extra to the punter.
Okay.
Actually, they won half their money back. And it cost me about $2,500 personally.
Yep.
But not everyone wanted to do it. And I'm thinking, hang on a second, this is supposed to be a good joint promotion,
Yes.
not just say, you're competing against a sports bettor advertising for Caulfield Cup this week. If your horse runs first, second, third, and fourth, we're going to give you up to $50 back on your bet.
Only one problem there. Unlike what Mr. Waterhouse calls out on his stand, no one barred.
Yeah.
There's my account's still okay. I can still bet, but promotions is one thing that I'm not allowed with Sportsbet, and it's obviously for that reason because they can't offer the generous
But
offers to some of these punters.
what you both just said, what you both just said is that the problem is that while the bookie corporate bookies have this dramatic structural advantage, if you like, including barring people. There's been no smartness coming back the other way collectively from the on-course bookies, and I think you're pretty much saying.
Yeah.
Well, there's a taxi analogy. It's not the 10,000 cabbies who all keep their cabbies clean and work their butts off and keep themselves clean and all that. It's the one or two blokes who don't have a shower and are uncouth to their passengers that give the entire industry.
That's right, yeah. And do you remember a guy called Victor Mark?
Yes, I remember Victor.
Played basketball against me.
Victor loved me for some reason. I don't know why. He just loved me. Anyway, so he used to give 5% back if your horse didn't run a place.
Yeah.
So, you know, and those sort of things will hold. Attract a little bit of money. And look, at the end of the day, I'm not completely thinking that it's not going to, you know, like it's going to go back to what it used to be.
Yeah.
But because James gave us an example just before when we were talking. They laid the horse top flag at 260. They got 290 on track. Yes. So with the new VOP, I'm not completely negative against it, because if you get to the track, and I spoke to one of our friends, Trevor, the other week when we came here.
Well, you met Trevor.
And he said he went to Caulfield, and they were, I think one horse was 380, but there was 420 on track. Yep. So basically, if you get back to the track now, there is a little bit of a difference.
I think that it's a really great point you've raised, Mick. I think the VOP is a tremendous opportunity for punters that want to put in the hard work of going to the track, and you can trade away, because it's not, the VOP's not the best price in corporate land for a start, and there's no reason now for the on-course bookmakers to keep their foot on one, because they're not part of the flux. So
correct.
Let's not talk our own language, Pops. Can you give us a snapshot of VOP? Exactly how it works.
I'll chime in here. VOP is the Victorian official price. They no longer collate the prices on course off the bookmakers' boards anymore. It's run by Dynamic Odds, and it's
number 6.
It's the sixth price on Dynamic.
So Potts,
they've got 10 or 12 in the pool, haven't they, or something? The biggest corporates.
So Potts, to explain what you're saying further.
So the sixth best price might be 380.
Yeah.
There might be a couple betting $4 or $4.20 or whatever. Yeah. But the official fluctuation will be 380. Yeah. And then, as the boys are saying, on course there could be bookies that are really keen to lay.
Here's how Rocky was a keen example. He laid 5,000 top fluck at 260, back to back at 290. Yeah. The fluck was 260 into 250. If it was proper on course flux, it would have got to 290. There was 3 bookies.
So I think the key thing here is that you guys are in a war, whether you like to recognise it or not, with these large corporates for the run-of-the-mill punters, and they've got massive marketing departments and budgets. So whether it's the bookies, Carl, what do they call them here, the bookies?
The VBA, the Victorian Bookmakers Association.
Or whatever, or RV, or whoever it is, someone's got to market the advantages and the benefits that the on-course operators offer. So, because, you know, like people like me and Trevor talking about putting more of our money back through the ring, and I think a lot of punters out there that have just done all their punting for the last 5 years or so from home need to have a really good look at whether they can put some of their money back into the local ring, but it needs to be made easy for them to do it.
This is really important what you're just saying, because I want to back over it. So what James, you pretty much said with Easy Rocky as a prime example was that due to the VOP situation, that on course there was a good opportunity for you guys as bookies to get an earn out of it, and for punters who went to the track to get the best odds out of it.
Yeah.
Well, that's a win-win. Is that not a win-win?
So, and the reason it would happen is on a day like Saturday where the favourites are coming in one after another.
Yeah,
the corporates have got huge multi-liabilities, and they're trying to keep their foot desperately on the price. And these guys are running a completely different way. They're trying to lay the horse at the right price.
Corporates are holding a lot more money, so one course is a lot more competitive to hold that extra dollar. Yeah. So we are betting a lot stronger of a percentage on course.
Now this leads me into something that
everyone needs to know that.
That's the message we need to get out.
The authorities need to get that message out there, that there's a real opportunity to get a more competitive price on course. But you know, you've got to be prepared to put in the work, and these guys have got to make it easy for punters to do it, to access it.
Now this leads me to something that happened to me.
So what I'm suggesting, sorry, Juppy, I don't want to move on before we... What needs to happen is the prices being bet on course need to be able to be seen by people like me that are off course.
And I think that's in the pipeline, I think. But stuff like that's been in the pipeline for a long time.
This is one thing I would prefer not to happen, selfishly.
Okay.
I prefer our prices not to go out there.
Because you want them to come to the track.
We want them to come to the track. And see, what I would like to see
You'll get both, Mickey. You'll get both. You need to have a way to engage them in the first place.
And what I'd like to see the track people do, and I'm not saying I'm right, Ralphie, I'm just my opinion. What I'd like to see the track people do, people on track. So if I was a manager, I'd be opening up like little kiosks, going, okay, you guys get to the track. We're going to give you free Wi-Fi. We're going to give you free. And we are going to make sure that you get looked after, like drinks, like they do at Las Vegas Casino. You get there, you turn over your money with us, and we will look after you. That sort of thing.
And here's the point, and this is where I've always been a bit, I don't know what the word is, but about the Richie Irvine thing that he's won.
Yeah.
A bit of events about people who are smart punters saying he's done the best thing for everyone. Now he's done the best thing for smart punters, and it's been sensational what he's done. But what I'm saying is don't discount people that go to the track, and you know what, exactly what you said, they just want to have a good experience, and they know they're going to torch a fair amount in their pocket, and they don't give a fuck because that's their 3 or 4 weeks in the carnival or their 1 day out, and because that's the Las Vegas comparison, or Crown or whatever, the big casino. There's a reason they put deluxe on for the high rollers, because the high rollers are probably going to lose, and the high rollers themselves, they know they're probably going to lose, and they don't care, they want the good experience.
Correct.
And you've got to give them the good experience. And at the moment, that's where the opportunity, I reckon, is to give them those people a good experience.
I think the point is, Mickey, is that there's only so many people that can come track. That limits the numbers. But these corporates have collected hundreds of thousands of recreational punters.
That's it.
And you guys need to go back into that market and fight them for it. And the way to do it is by offering a more competitive opportunity for them.
That's gonna pedal back to what they didn't want to do, which is get rid of people collating prices from the trade. So unless they can do it electronically without a cost to RVL.
No, but that's where the great thing about social media is. And this is where the collective smarts, if there is collective, if it's not like fun run and oxymoron, with the VBA, have got to step in and say, right, boys, it's within our best interest to get information out there. Don't worry about trying to get, like Racing.com's not going to do it. They've got a monopoly sponsor through Crown. They don't even tell you what 5 or 6 prices are. They want Crown only. And that's the deal that they've chosen to make. But where the opportunity is for the on-course bookies is to collectively say, best flight, because I didn't know that, best flight 260, why aren't you at the track? You can get 290 about EJ Rocky.
Well, this leads me to something that happened to me on Saturday. I was lucky, a few guys, there was probably the most I've ever had, there was at least 7 or 8 guys come up to me and say, love the show, watch every week.
How big's Wal G?
Well, Wal G was out there saying hello, Wal. He's a good man, and he came up to me and said what was happening and whatnot. And I'd spoken to a great friend who's also here enjoying lunch in Paddy Beth.
Yeah.
And because I'd spoken to DK at Geelong on the Friday, where Gift of Music was inglorious.
Wasn't the People's Centennial?
No, it was. He'd had enough by then. But he said, I do have one at Menangatang for you. So I went over and just said to Paddy, I said, what's this thing at Menangatang? He goes, oh, it's in the third race. So I just said to Wal, you might want to have something on this, and it was $4 into 210. 28 start maiden, but managed to win by 4. It fell in. So well done, DK.
DK's the best.
But there was also, so I had a good chat to Wal, and also another regular viewer, Benny Good Vibes. He came up and said g'day, but one thing that really captured my attention when he spoke to me, Potts, was he goes, how good is it to be out of the bunker for a change? He goes, I've been in the bunker, I haven't been going much good lately, so I thought I'm going to change it up. I'm going to come and have just a day out. I'm going to try and do what I can here. But there's a couple of little things that were a drawback. Now, Melbourne Racing Club, I know we've all got to make hay while the sun shines because it's Spring Carnival, but $55 to get into the track on Saturday is probably a bit steep. I think we could have got more. You could have got twice as many people for half the amount of money.
Isn't a simple supply and demand situation. If the joint was full, they were entitled to charge it. If the joint's not full, it was too expensive.
Well, the joint wasn't full.
That's my point.
No, they're full.
No, it's like there was enough people there. It was a decent crowd, but you could have got more people in there. So that's the problem.
I think the Melbourne Racing Club's credit. I think if there was enough punters that wanted to go to the track, they'd be. I'm sure they'd find a way to get punters in there at a reasonable cost. But the problem is there hasn't been enough hunger for it. So hopefully there's things around there that could come back.
Why doesn't the VBA say entrance back with your first bet of that amount?
I said that a few years ago.
Well, that's something that John Clancy and the board need to look at.
To spend our money.
Yeah.
it'll be a good way to spend our money. Then at least you know
Yeah, well,
they're
go
trying
to-
to invest in the future,
and
trying to get them on track regularly.
Jesus, boss. At my own stand, I'd do it for sure.
Yeah.
Like you just say, your first bet is free for that your entrance.
Yeah.
Like you big swans, surely.
So-
Provided it's one race too.
No, I said that a few years
Get
ago.
there early, get your bet going.
But I mean, what's worse, Juppie,
Yep.
is that Pakenham was also $25 to watch a bunch of 9 to 58s and made it run around, and there was no one there.
Nick, if you're going to come on this, can you actually just don't make up things? There's no way knowing what Pakenham was $25.
$25.
You're making that up.
And a Melbourne, and a water, and a...
Just a water. Yeah. Water. Yeah.
2 pots,
3 pots,
3 pots.
2 waters.
Sorry to interrupt. We're just doing some drinks orders with that.
How many minutes has it been?
we're chipping away. We're going all right, Nicky.
Have you done? We've been 12 minutes.
Sun's out.
For those who don't know, one of Mick's great hobbies is timing how long it takes me to drink a beer. So he does that. I get a weekly report
My
from
wife
Mickey.
and I do it.
I've got things to do. We're going to
Sorry, Ruffy.
So there's been a heap of correspondence this week that we'll chip through, but there's been a couple of battles that both I've run into and you've run into, Ralphie. And the first one I ran into was I've got a few notes written down here, and one of them is Classic Bet don't like us. A couple of the staff that work at Classic Bet decided to pick a fight with Richie Irvine. Well, that was probably never going to end well for them, because some of the onerous things that they're making punters do to reopen their accounts, last 3 tax returns, super statements,
I've got them here.
pay slips.
Pay slips. DNA from your firstborn son.
Yes. Like it's ridiculous. And he said, and the staff essentially said, like, we're here to look after the punter and give them the best experience we can. Yes, but you have to do that to everyone. You can't discriminate. That's what the minimum bet rules are for.
Look after the punter. I was barred before I even had a bet with them.
So that just shows the sort of operation that they are. But I know that there's a few people. It's clear what they're going to do. If 30 people get that email, 27 or 28 of them, and I'm sure you'd be the same, Potts, if they said, we want all, if it wasn't necessarily Classic Bet, but it was another corporate turn around and said, we need all this from you, there's more than likely you're just going to say, well, this is just too hard, I don't really care.
Yeah. Look, to be honest, I haven't got an extra grind with Classic Bet. I've never had a bet with them. I know nothing about them, but the authorities need to put their foot on this type of behaviour very quickly. It's terrible for the industry. I don't really care about the money operator or whatever. It's just bad for the industry. You've got to stop it. You've got to stop all this type of thing, and it goes for. Even some of the bigger ones have done stuff like this.
Yeah, well, Hills and Classic better than 2.
Yeah.
So once I'd finished rolling through that, Blue, well, let's have we'll get on to Caulfield and we'll have a look back at the meeting in part 2. But the 3 of us here, we ventured out to Cranbourne yesterday.
How was that,
for Cup Day. Well, we got there.
Juppie and I won.
Yeah,
the first winner.
We won, so that was something. But we got out there nice and early because it was going to be Cup Day, and we got there and we got set up. But I knew the day was probably in trouble when I came back through the gate after parking the van, and they had a double-fronted marquee just inside the gate for the proof of age wristbands. Well, when that blew over and finished up on top of 2 of Robbie Lang's horses in the horse stalls, I knew the meeting might have been in a little bit of bother at that stage. And then Leading Rails bookmaker and a friend of the show, Brian Mann, said, "You can drive a truck, can't you?" I said, "Yes." He goes, "Well, they need someone to drive the water truck around the trotting track to keep this dust down. You go out there and do that so we can get this meeting finished." But the jockeys didn't particularly want to ride.
Is the proof of age ID at Cranbourne a child?
Well, James will back me up on this. We saw one of the greatest things ever on Saturday.
I'll workshop that one. I'll get back to it.
They went through all the bookmakers' staff on course and ID'd them. So basically, if you looked under 25, you had to go and get a wristband. I was offended that I wasn't called in and asked if I was 25 or not. Another strongly worded email coming.
A 24-year-old next to us.
Yep.
Asked him for a wristband. Asked him for his ID. Full licensed driver. Got to see your ID to work.
That's
How the jockeys go?
Well,
they bring them in.
Trev Marmalade's got lines that for 25 years in a row he missed out on best new talent.
So Cranbourne was called off yesterday, and then Ralphie tweeted about how there's a and it's something we've been on about on this show for some time about getting the horses actually named in these trials that jump out at Cranbourne. Now we had some correspondence from some of the staff members and people there at Cranbourne, didn't we, Ralph?
I was at We Will Rock You with the kids there, Potts. That's what happens when footy season's finished. Fuck, you have nothing to do. So I took the kids to We Will Rock You.
We are Rocky.
We Will Rock You.
Oh, we'll rock you.
Ben Elton wrote it for the Queen. The Queen's on
The show.
And at half time, or as they call it in the theatre world, interval.
Well, we had one of those at Caulfield on Saturday.
Half time?
Yeah, there was a 3-horse race and everyone just lost interest.
So,
but that was the highlight of the day apparently, Jump. Sorry,
Was it?
go on.
No, so I just
According to racing.com it was.
scrolled through Twitter, and Cranbourne's been caught off, and I decided, this is what the Twitter world is, which you're too smart to be part of. And I just,
I'm not.
I said I said, well, there you go. Cranbourne and Ballarat, the two clubs ago, named their horses in trials. How are they going? Calvin was run over or something. Couldn't give it. Anyway, I went back in. By the time I got out, then it's erupted, and the sponsorship manager said, "Are you such an insignificant human that you have to?" Well, I can't be that insignificant. You apply to it. So, our simple premise. It's all well known, but let's say it one more time. Flemington named every horse in the jump out. Caulfield started it. And since they've been doing it, turnover's gone up on races because
Correct.
it gets people's interest. They go, look how well that trial. Ultimately, it doesn't affect the price, and that's been proven because bookies will set a price on known information, I would assume, guys. And if someone came up to you and said, that horse that you've got at $6 that you don't know anything about, we'd like to have $50,000 on it, you'd say,
See you later.
you can't get on for 50.
Yeah, no.
What do you mean? It's right. No, I mean, so if you want to get a bet on, so in other words, it's a total fallacy that owners get first crack at.
How was race one on Saturday, boys? Was there much betting in race one at Caulfield?
Well,
Everything had been seen.
we don't really try, so...
Yeah.
Well,
We
I would
didn't
have
do
thought it
much.
was a reasonable 2-year-old betting race because all the runners were seen. So the form analysts could have a look at the race and make a market out of it, and it's okay. But as soon as there's unknown runners, people like me just go, no thanks. There's no market. So if there's no market, it's very hard for your owners to win any money because there's no one on the other side of the bet. So
Well,
the argument that it's somehow advantageous for owners to keep these things hidden is a real myth. It's a very
there's a fact that I went and this is a first for the Melbourne Pro Punters panel, Ralph.
Yes. Research.
Yes, the first time I've ever done any
Someone
research
has?
for this show. But there's someone mentioned the I Got Chills plunge, which you
2005.
mentioned was 11 years ago. Well, I actually went and called up the bookies draw for that day at Flemington. There were 23 bookies on the rails that had to bet you to win 5,000, and there was 13 bookies off the fence that all had to bet you to win 3,000. The current limits on course are to win 3,000 on the fence and 1,000 off the fence, and on a good day there might be 6 or 7 off the fence and 15 or 16 on. So if you think you can get on with the corporates and the owners, then you probably need to be looking at what else you're doing other than backing your own horses.
There's a reason why they offer best of the best, but let's not digress because about the.
But then
Discuss the
the
owners.
corporates put the prices up, well ahead, days ahead of the meeting anyway. And no matter how much the stables think they can keep these things in, they always get out one way or another, and those horses end up being backed anyway. I mean, it's such a myth.
But that's
you need a market.
Let's talk specifics with Cranbourne, and I don't like actually. I like doing it on Twitter. I don't like doing it here because the person there, what's his name, Luke King, isn't here to put his side. But I'll just say what his side of the argument was to Punters, who's not on Twitter. So he said, "Why don't you come in and I'll give you a egg and bacon roll on a latte, and you can see them for yourself, like any owners can." So they're trying to push that thing. And then he also said that every fortnight we have public trials that X amount of runners are there. I said yes, and every other fortnight, you have a bunch of things that you actively try and keep away from the punting public. So it's just beyond any logic. And then one of them chimed in with, "What do you mean government-funded organisation? We're not government-funded organisation." Now, don't bullshit us, because if there's one thing I'm pretty good at, it's this. And so then I just went to Dr. Google and found a couple of press releases from both Mark Pacula and from Dennis Napthine, who announced their $1 million of government grants to the Cranbourne Training Centre. They're very, very much government funded.
Yeah.
The point is, don't be so stupid, pathetic, and out of touch and outdated. Give people as much information
What's
as
the
possible.
guy's name? What's his name?
Luke Kingsley's name.
Luke, so like I said to you, look, my argument's not really with you.
No,
My argument's with Racing Victoria. don't accept nominations from horses that haven't been seen publicly, particularly in metropolitan races. But I would go beyond that. So, Cranbourne will name these horses in a heartbeat if they can't nominate for races without doing so.
Or if they're told to by the government body.
Solved.
Now, as I mentioned on Twitter, Fox, you know that I'm solutions-based. I'm not looking at the negative here. Luke King's the sales and sponsorship manager out of Cranbourne. Now, I reckon if we had a whip around, I reckon I could find 20 punters that would all throw in 100, at least 100 each. So there's $2,000, and the Melbourne Pro Punters panel will sponsor. I'll put up the $2,000 myself if I have to, but I reckon I can have a whip around and get enough to cover it. We will sponsor the trials and jump outs if you name them at Cranbourne, because as you know, Ralph, what speaks all languages?
Well, money does, but the point being, it clearly isn't a financial situation, because they would have done it by now. So if it was about finance, they would have done it by now.
We need to stop barking on the wrong tree. We're just appealing to Racing Victoria, create the conditions where these clubs have no choice but to, when they're putting vision up on YouTube, to just put a list of who the horses are.
Well, what I'm looking forward to, I've got the race book from Saturday here, is that come the Cranbourne Cup, which is rescheduled for the 21st of April for the 150th anniversary, I'm looking forward to opening the race book on that night and just seeing 12 sets of colours in there. No other information. Because it's the same thing.
Hang on. So let's move to the next. So the Cranbourne Cup, we had a bunch of horses ready to go yesterday.
Correct.
Of good standing. And so in the sprint race. Of good standing. But let's just say the Cranbourne Cup. So did you just say they're rescheduling this in April?
Yes, and I can also explain the reason for that.
This would be good.
Well, the problem is there were probably two realistic options. There was reschedule it for the Friday night meeting coming up this Friday. However, if they did that, that was going to potentially rob the Moe Cup, which is on the Thursday.
And no one was going back up.
No, but there's a similar pool of horses were being spread between the two.
Why wouldn't they at the race? So when Greg Carpenter's Staying Dingo series was called off at Sandown and they moved the 4,000 metre race to Caulfield and put it on race one that fucked the track on the day, once everything did 2 laps and there was fence off after that, that was okay. Why wouldn't they think it was okay to have that Cranbourne Cup run this Wednesday when there's a decent interest in the meeting? That's not saying the meeting's going great, but there'll be a decent interest. A lot of corporate people take tables and the money belted around Caulfield. And the cleaners running, so automatically you've got wider interest in the sport. And that's a no-brainer. So of course we'll do a no-brainer 6 months later.
Yeah, fair enough, boys. It's all
right.
So look, hang on now. You've moved on past to the next subject, and I want to go back to the previous one.
All right.
I want to make an appeal to racehorse owners out there, particularly unraced ones, okay, and young horses, to the owners. On Saturday at Caulfield, there were a few dominant winners: Star Turn, Chetwood, Winks. They were the 3 most dominant winners on Saturday. A huge part of the reason why they were dominant is because they had their last run in Sydney. One of the reasons Sydney horses are coming down here and dominating races, not just winning them, is because they are better prepared. They are, look, forget all the business. We've already admitted that as part of it that there's a big link up between the high price yearlings sold at Easter and the big breeders and the Sydney trainers. That's only part of it. But the preparations, the trials at Rosehill and Randwick are so much more competitive than the jump outs at Caulfield, Flemington and Cranbourne and stuff. So they get a head start. This is particularly relevant to young horses. So I'm saying to the owners of horses being trained in Melbourne, you are being let down by the administrators. There needs to be better preparations for these horses, particularly at a young age and particularly early in their preparations. Because what happens if they're going through these jiggy-joggy jump outs and they're not really being prepped up and it's all like only Flemington horses at Flemington and only Caulfield at Caulfield and so on and so forth. Whereas at Rosehill, they come from everywhere. Randwick, they come from everywhere. These horses are being hardened by competition. Then they come down here and they're fitter, better prepared, and they're making the local horses look second rate.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'll whip through some more of this correspondence from Ed Healy, who tweets in regularly. He's at Empty Cab on Twitter to me, and I'll put it to these boys too. Apparently the bookies lost badly at Caulfield. I backed Spoils Pemberley, Haydock, Bonorum and Flamberge, and they got all of his. But it was a tough day for bookies. But A couple managed to get away winning.
We were one of what is it, 2 that we've heard of that have won.
Yeah.
We just handled the day really well, and everyone just sits there and goes, let's just get stuck up the favourite, which is it's old school bookmaking. That the smarties are playing. Sort of the market's been set for so long. The market's pretty ripe that you've sort of got to pick and choose your favourites. It does help when you put your foot on the Guineas winner and win most of your money on that race.
Oh, well done. And
So James
Any
raised
joy
a
for
really
you,
good
Mickey?
point. There's
No,
this
realise.
myth out there that as soon as all the favourites win, the bookies lose. Okay, it's a myth because the days that bookmakers lose, correct me if I'm wrong, boys, is when the winners don't find a price. If it's just an avalanche and they're continuing to short,
Yeah.
short.
Yeah, that's right.
And the only thing that stops the price shortening is the jump.
yeah,
That's when it's. But see, those horses on said they all traded at about their price.
Yeah.
So as soon as there's trading on both sides of the price,
Correct.
you guys can get away from them if you want to, if you choose.
You
to.
mean with known information? Known information, unlike non-barrier trials, known information means there's opinions on both sides of it.
yes.
Yeah.
but that-
Yeah.
well, speaking of
That's it, absolutely.
Speaking of known information, Wal G, who came up and said g'day there on Saturday, putting the presentation dice in front of the mounting yard, blocking access to the parade. Paid $55 to see horses, not speeches. That's probably something that can be rectified.
Hashtag customers.
So
What about the punters?
I'll speak to some of the boys out there at Caulfield and see what they can do. Nick Meredith, who's a great friend of the show up there in Queensland. Why do they race Wednesday at Caulfield? Isn't it just asking for trouble come Saturday? And I sort of replied back to him and said, well, we've run the last 5 Saturdays there, so an extra meeting there, but it is a bit of a midweek meeting there on Wednesday, isn't it?
So
Look, I think it's okay, Nick. I mean, the track is in unbelievable
Yeah.
order. There's a lot of grass on it. The shear is really high. That's the new going stick rating. That means that they're not marking it. And so they'll race in the true again on Wednesday, and it'll race well, I would think. And they'll move the rail out to
6.
5 metres, isn't it? To
6.
5 or 6. So yeah, it'll be fine.
And incidentally, and just about the business side of it, I've been told by someone who know, I was told 6 years ago, I assume it's not a lot different, but that's actually, I think, third as far as their money, the money that the club makes. And that includes the Blue Diamond and the Ore Stakes and boxing. That's third because there's so much corporate sales for, as I said, the Brightons and the Caulfields of the world, all the local businesses book tables, and it's a big earn for them, so it makes perfect sense what they do.
That swung around a bit, I think, Ralph, because I can say for a fact that Blue Diamond Day, there was more people at Blue Diamond Day and a bigger crowd, and there were as many marquees as what there were there on Saturday. So it's
Anyway, it's still good.
it's still a good earn, correct. At Toowoomba Tips, any chance of a live studio audience for filming during Cup Week? Hashtag Qantas style. I think that was one of our biggest shows that we've ever done, was the Melbourne Cup preview, mainly because I potted Michelle Payne and Prince of Penzance to look like a dill. But yes, we're going to try and do a Melbourne Cup preview again this year, and I suppose if we're doing it, we'll probably wind up doing it here, and there probably can be a studio audience.
We're a bit like Condor, we all sit around and agree with each other. Just a bit more right wing
And then we've got one from theprofits.com tweet that said, I'm in for that also, we can sing pots while they work, that's good. And then he also said, I'm sure you boys walk the track, nothing wrong with the inside, so why was there a big push from that from racing.com? And I replied back to him, it was also Matty Stewart on RSN on Saturday morning too.
Yeah, I think the track manager was a little bit.
Jason.
Jason was a little bit concerned, and it sort of gathered its own momentum. I mean, I went back on Friday to have a second look because when I walked on Thursday, I didn't see anything wrong with the inside. So I thought, I better go back and have another look and see if I've missed something. There was one spot just on the home turn, but geez, it seemed pretty evident to me that what was going to happen is the jockeys were going to ease off the rail, and it was going to allow the horses drawn inside to get momentum, which is usually the stumbling block for inside draws. So I went into Saturday not worried about inside draws at all. So
okay.
I don't know. It's one of those things where someone said this is a possibility, and then it seemed to gather its own momentum, and it got to be carried away.
I'm happy to say, I reckon that was Matt Stewart on the radio, who loves the narrative and loves setting it up so that potentially, if the fence is off, he can then sink the boots into it on Sunday morning in the paper.
Could I put it to you this way, maybe, Potts, and this is one of the reasons I've made all the training reviews that I listen to it. I just want to have my own opinion. That, from Jason's point of view, he's a thorough professional, he's great at what he does, So he's over worrying about it. So he's,
Yeah.
I think that's dead right.
and then so he goes, well, maybe if something happens, it's this. And we hear trainers do that, and I say that with great respect, and I mean that trainers then, they're so, Waller's a classic case before a race, he goes, oh, well, I do this. Because they're living and breathing their animals, so in this case, Jason's his track, and so that they're so worried. So really, as a punter, you're just going to be dispassionate and say, in your case, you went and walked it, you nailed it. You're just going to give your own opinions and then say, well, I don't want to let other opinions take, or other narratives thrown.
The only thing I want to say to our punters, to our viewers, is just treat the races from the shoot start and the races around the circle as completely different beasts.
Yeah.
Once you're in the shoot, it's more the field packs up naturally because they're running in a straight line. It's a lot closer. It's a lot more like a cycling peloton. To give an example, and the races become about momentum at the right time, and that tends to favour middle and wider draws. And in the circle races, they tend to spread out more, which on a track like Saturday, saving ground, there was no disadvantage in the ground. If you were running fast, it was hard for the other horses to come around.
Oh, tell me this, because I believe, having done the videos and looked at Vince's times, and I know we'll get to this race, but tell me this, do you think there was a disadvantage wide in where the previous traffic was? Because it seems like that to me.
Well, it was, because the inside horses were running. If you were on pace, there was no hindrance to you. There was no wind.
Right. So
there was no wind.
short
ground. If you maintained your speed of the line, it was very hard to circle. So there was worth of length. And if you went real wide, that was no good.
Thank you. That's your opinion.
Another one from theprofits.com. Great Esteem is probably the most underrated horse going around and will romp in at $10 next up.
I have to say the trainer there, Stewie Webb, great job, Stewie. He's got that horse off the Snowdens. Hard to improve a horse off the Snowdens. Well done.
And here's a really interesting point that I think these boys would probably agree with too. Love the panel's thoughts on the Caulfield Stakes. Leftover prize money going to charity, yet no industry budget to run competitions. Like, they could have used that prize money for an on-course best tipster of the day, making people want to come to the races. So if they use, I think it was 27,000, or there might have even been more. It might have been up to 50 leftover prize money for that race. Why not put that back into people to try and get there, and at least the money will flow back through the industry anyway?
Well, I mean, the Melbourne Racing Club's got a good marketing department. I'm sure they think about all those things, Jumpy. For them not to take up that suggestion, I imagine they probably think it's not got any legs. But I don't know.
We just want to see things being tried.
Yeah.
We're just sitting on track doing the same thing.
Betting the same
By
people.
the way, things being tried is not adding another race and paying the 10th.
Yes.
That is not innovation. It's just more.
10 races, people leave after that.
So from your point of view, this is something I'd like to answer because I haven't really thought about it. All the promotion that the clubs do and then RV do separately, when was the last time you seen them do a promotion that was about wagering?
Oh.
That was a while ago when they offered the when they had that little flags that offered at Caulfield.
That's right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And how long ago was that?
Oh, a while.
Greg
So I'd wonder, that mustn't have been.
Greg Miller at Sandown Greyhounds does it really well. Look, in the last month, they had the whole month Punters Club. You put in $20. Win, lose or draw, you got your money back. And believe it or not, they sold about 500 tickets. And only maximum of 2 tickets per person. So they're getting people. So basically, if you do that, and that helps the turnover.
Absolutely, because the people are there. They have to be there the whole night to collect their money. That's good.
Clubs and the racing industry are frightened to promote wagering side of racing in the political landscape.
Just on
Even though that's what makes it interesting to us.
Promotion in attendance wasn't the first Friday night at Moonee Valley free entry for AFL club members?
Yes.
Did anyone see that anywhere?
No, it didn't. It didn't get out there as well.
They're pretty good. No, well, you mean the industry?
Yeah,
like a promotion of it.
Yeah.
And did you see while we're thinking of it? So I saw Michael Brown tweet out. Did you know this? Moonee Valley Grand Final Eve. 8 races, 30 minutes apart, free for AFL club members, perfect track. Some pretty basic fundamentals.
Yep.
8 races, 30 minutes apart. Turnover up 30%.
And you.
Fuck me, and all the best jockeys and good horses that we know So good races, good jockeys, good trainers, good track.
I reckon there's some
So
other
they
factors
went
in there though too to that crowd, Ralph. I went to all 3 meetings last weekend. I was at Moonee Valley, and I was at Caulfield, and I was at Flemington.
Yep.
And I think where that meeting's positioned, I think if Flemington are fair dinkum with what they want to do with the Turnbull Stakes, if it's going to be moved around, it should be run on Friday on the public holiday, and move Moonee Valley to the Thursday night. Because the thing was, there was a ton of people in the city on the Friday with the grand final parade. They reckon there was 180,000 there. Well, all you need to get is a tenth of that to spill over, and Moonee Valley be full. And that's what happened there. That was the busiest of the 3 city meetings for the weekend, including Turnbull Stakes stuff.
Number one,
Works.
no city meetings on a Sunday.
Yeah, I think we've got enough evidence now that they don't work.
Next.
Yeah, that's a good. I hope that doesn't get slip through to the keeper, James. It's a really good point. It just doesn't make sense, doesn't it? It doesn't work.
Terrible.
Great meeting there last Sunday, and
There was no one there.
it was just the betting seemed very flat.
Chucky and I just had a conversation all day.
Yeah.
That's about all we did.
Are the panel having a Christmas party, and will Potts play Santa, and will Ralph turn up? That's from Pierre, who's at Paul Carr, 52668764. We'll probably have another Melbourne Recreational Punters Society, and if need be, I will dress up as Santa. It doesn't worry me.
We've got 3 Santas.
Yeah, well, there could be quite a few of them.
To be honest, my feelings are a bit sort of hurt. I'm going to have a special Melbourne Punters panel Hanukkah special for all the Jewish punters can turn up.
I'll come with that.
And he also asked, can the panel give their early thirds on the Cornwall race of the spring in my opinion?
Well, we'll get the start turning, but I'm looking at it this way. It's John Hawke's horse. It pissed in what wasn't his grand final. Tell me that's not going to improve again.
Okay, well, we'll get to that because I've got more to do that. We'll do that in part 2.
No,
Yeah.
we've been asked for an opinion on that race. So
On the Coolmore, yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 horses there, so Extreme Choice, Star Turn, and a Stern down the straight. So a lot will depend on the conditions on the day. I would think, you know, if you happen to get a southerly wind and it was a headwind, I'd be looking at a Stern. If I had to put them in an order right now, I'd probably have a Stern, a neck in front of Star Turn, and Extreme Choice is one that's going to need a lot of thinking about down the straight. I don't know, I'm not sure there. He's a very fast horse though, so well, I tell you what, it's they wouldn't be easy to price because there's not a lot to line Extreme Turn up with those two.
I'll say that.
And boys, Greg Ray's tweeted in, I know a bookie who sacked a clerk for being left-handed. Have you seen any other odd sackings? I've got a good story about one of the gentlemen who's here too.
What about the almost sacking at Cranbourne in the morning? Wasn't quite a bookie, but the security guard was pretty funny.
Well, we were out there quite early yesterday, and there was, as you can imagine, there's now more security staff than there are punters at these courses now. And there was one young fellow who was standing in the ring who was obviously on guard there, but he was leaning against one of these steel pillars, and he had his foot up on that, and his boss came over and told him off for it. So he took the earpiece and the walkie-talkie off, threw it at the boss, stuck his finger up at him, and walked out.
Oh, man of the year.
Tommy Gilmore tweeted in, I'd like to thank the wind at Cranbourne yesterday for forcing me to spend time with loved ones. #sick. And Craig McKenna, he's at Biscuits47. Are you looking at doing any previews of the carnival meetings? I think probably at this stage the only preview we'll probably do is the Melbourne Cup.
Yeah, I think so.
It's a mad time of year. There's so much to do. So that'll do us for a very lengthy part 1. We will be back after a short break for part 2, where we will have a look at the Guineas meeting at Caulfield.